Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, all the Ranger fans in the house. How's everyone doing? Awesome! You know what, my friend, come back. I want to give you the Spirit Award for that. No, you don't have to come here. I was at my booth. I want to hook you up. He knew what time it was. Did you hear that? He knew. Yeah, what time is it?
Overtime!
What time is it? There we go. Now we know everyone's awake. You guys ready?
Yeah.
You ready to be entertained?
Yeah.
Because Copon said that he can juggle fire. Yeah, right?
All right,
He just doesn't know what I just signed him up for.
We lost control of this panel before it even started.
Oh, it's okay. We just said that Copon was going to juggle fire right now.
I thought he was giving everyone free donuts.
Oh, there you go. Free sugar for all the kids. There you go.
That's exactly what they need. So welcome everyone to, geez, it sounds like I'm starting the podcast. Welcome to our 12:30 panel with, what is it, a reflection of Power Rangers with Tracy, Lynn, Cruz, and Michael Copon.
Oh, you could have stopped just with Tracy and Cruz. That's awesome.
We could have because Michael was really late. That's why we're late. Don't tell him I said that.
He's much too pretty to be next to me.
I think the word you're looking for is range. Not only did he play a guy from the future, he also played a man that spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
He's actually we're actually family.
Are you?
Yeah,
I cannot speak Spanish at all.
I know, that's why I said that. You
Claro que
speak
sí.
Spanish.
¿Cómo que no?
No, I lied and said I was part Spanish when I got One Tree Hill though. I got the first script and it was just all in Espanol and I was like,
See, you could pull it off, the Asian and the Spanish. We're both Filipino, and that's the thing, is that we could pull it off both, the Asian and the Hispanic.
But the producers didn't think so. They heard me speak my first lines and they're like, you lied to us. You don't speak fluent Spanish. I said, no.
You just say,
I said, but
"Sí,
would you
sí."
give me the role if I told you I didn't? No, so.
You just smile and nod and say, see? See?
With an I here and there, right? Yeah, not
Sorry.
that one. So,
Sorry.
no, you're very well.
How you guys doing? You guys having a good time today?
Yeah.
Good. That's good.
We got one friend right here in the front that's taken the character all the way. He's just embracing it.
That's the second row is now the front row.
He looks like he's smiling because like the shape of the mouth.
Yeah, I see that.
It's deceiving.
Turn around, stand up and turn around so they can see what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
We're talking about you
Look
He
at
guys.
the
looks like he's
smiling face.
smiling.
Look like he's smiling.
Inside, he's like, oh,
You
no.
look like he's smiling, but you have no teeth. You know what I mean?
That's the worst kind of smile.
All right, will you take back control, please, or just,
I'm
we're
trying.
gonna...
I'm trying.
You gotta take control of this, otherwise we're just gonna.
Okay, I'm sorry,
I
but you
can't
have
with
the
these personalities in
red
this
space hat on,
So-
my friend.
I
That's,
gotta give a shout out to him real quick though.
wow, that's amazing.
He drove all the way to my donut shop and bought some of my donuts and interviewed me in my store in Virginia, and that was really cool. We had a good time down there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Donuts are amazing.
Yeah, but he's still rocking
Yeah,
the
he
Red
likes
Ranger.
maple bacon. That's our number one seller. I am selling some of my donuts. I brought a select few to my table.
He's still rocking the Red Ranger.
I heard they're good. So anyway, welcome to this live. Well, it's not a podcast. Well, it's live for everybody that's here. Anyway, tangent. Stop it.
We're great.
I'm gonna hit it with. I can hit you with the microphone here. So welcome to this retrospective Power Rangers panel with again Tracy, Lynn, Cruz, and Michael Copon. They're related. I don't know if you've heard.
Yes.
And Michael doesn't speak Spanish, so don't ask him anything. Ask him everything in Spanish if you hablo español.
You've got to be able to speak Spanglish at least.
No speaking English. or
Yeah, I guess
Spanglish.
I
You
know.
can get away with Spanglish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo no uso eso.
You know,
Yo soy yo.
Right.
Por
Maybe
favor,
not.
Yo no uso eso.
You just said, I don't like,
No me gusta.
no, he says he doesn't like eso, like
know.
him. I don't like
see,
him.
I don't know.
Should I hit him with the mic instead?
Yeah.
So my name is Sean Fritz. I'm one of the hosts of the Power Rangers in Cyberspace podcast. It's named that because we're very clever. This here is, maybe you know him from his YouTube channel, that's the word. His name is Christian Ingram. He is the Power Rangers guy.
Not that Power Rangers guy.
All right, enough of that joke. That's an inside joke. No one here gets it. Notice how no one laughed.
I laughed.
I did
I
too.
laughed.
Don't give him pity laughs.
Give
Well,
me
I mean-
pity laughs.
I mean, anyways. So we're here with, we need some sound effects. So we're here with Michael and Tracy, and We're just going to talk through their Power Rangers career, pre, post, and then
So
eventually we'll...
this is the couch, right, that we do it on?
You can do it that way. I mean, it's...
My time starts. So it goes back when I met Copon. Yeah, he just became a thorn in my... No, I'm just kidding.
It was a very bad day for everyone but Michael. Oh,
Jesus.
Tommy's here.
We got the
Tommy's
White
here.
Ranger in the house. What? And yeah, where do you think you're going? Come up here,
Man.
front and center now.
You
We're gonna call you out.
That would have been bad if you left, because then you walked in and then walked back out.
Right?
How you gonna do that just in power?
What's
I
wrong with
know.
this mic? What's the helmet off?
What's wrong with this microphone?
I turned it down.
It's
I
not
turned it
the
down
mic.
because you're coming in a little too hot.
Hi. Yeah, it's like, you're too close? Oh, here
Too
you go.
close. That was 1998.
No, it's not a Sennheiser, that's why. No, it's
Oh.
Jesus,
Oh.
Shots
Can
fired.
we,
You
can we,
see
can we kick him out?
Superman right next to them?
I would mess with that guy.
No, I know, that's true.
Because that guy can get, that's the only man that I've ever seen that can get away with wearing a Superman Under Armour shirt to the gym. I am not kidding. Superman can't even get away with that.
No, no. But if Superman did look like that, hey.
So, I guess we'll get into it here. So just some random questions off the top of my head. Not really random, they're planned. I make it look good. So, as far as casting, we'll start with Tracy and Mike, then we'll go to Michael, and then we'll bounce backwards. We'll serpentine these questions. Tracy, when you started, or when you went for your audition for Power Rangers, you started the second half of Turbo. Was that the first season that you had an audition for, or did you audition a couple seasons prior and then they brought you in because of your previous audition, or how did that go?
So it all started on a couch. No, I'm just playing. Called the casting couch. No, I'm playing. I know it's not that kind of panel. I know. I'm just kidding. Kind of, sort of, not really. But yeah. So I started the audition process when they were filming Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Zeo. I think that's when I was starting to audition, was Zeo. It could have been, yeah, I think it was during that time, their hiatus on Zeo, in between Zeo and Turbo. I was actually in college. I was going to Long Beach State University studying for performing arts, and I had a friend told me that there was an audition. Wasn't really going in that direction because my performing arts, I was gearing more into dance. And with that background of dance, I was able to use that as kind of credentialed martial arts, if you will, just the fact that I can do choreography, flexibility, things like that. So that helped. And it wasn't anything the way that some of the guys explain where you're like cattle calling. It was just the audition process, and I thought I was reading for the Pink Ranger, just because history in the beginning tended to repeat itself, where it was, you know, the Caucasian girl is pink. So they didn't really tell me that I wasn't reading for pink or for yellow. They just wanted me to read. And when I found out I was yellow, I was like, oh, okay, that's great. I wasn't sure that was, you know, because usually it had repeated itself. So, and then the first African-American Ranger, Selwyn Ward, who I wish was with us, he ended up being red, and that was a first. So there was a lot of firsts for the show. Blake being the Kid Ranger. They had never had a Kid Ranger before on Turbo. So anyway, so we did that, and it really wasn't a long process. It just kind of right place, right time, I think I would say, yeah.
How many callbacks did you have?
I had 2. The first one was more of a screen testing, personality test, and then the second one was to let me know that I got the part.
So they just called you in to say, good job?
Yeah.
The opposite is that is when they call you in on Monday morning at 9:30 to your office job and say you're fired, go home.
Yeah, well, I got that call too.
No, it's a weekend, I'm off. So, Michael, same question. Your audition process, amount of callbacks.
They started on a couch too.
They have more comfortable furniture then.
Yeah, well, kind of different from a couch. I actually started in a 1982 Toyota pickup truck. I slept in outside the audition room. I was 17 years old, turned down a full ride scholarship to play football at Virginia Tech from Deep Creek, Virginia, which is not too far, Virginia Beach area.
What year was this?
2000.
Okay.
So yeah, about to say 99. Yeah, 2000. I left. My principal let me leave school early, so I went to LA in February. I know. Bye.
We're starting to walk the room already.
So yeah, so I gave him my full ride. I went there. It was my principal let me leave early. I went to LA, and Power Rangers was actually my first audition for acting. I had been modeling for about 6 months, so I knew I wanted to stay in LA and not go to college and not do the football thing anymore. I found a new love in the arts and entertainment world. But the commercial department said, hey, I think you should try acting. So they sent me on my first audition. So I drove up. I was still living in my truck. I used to take showers at Bally's, and that was like my life cycle until I got Power Rangers. That paid for my first apartment. So I only had 2 as well. I went in. The casting director, Iris, loved me from the start, and she said, oh my gosh. And then she brought in Chip, who's now the producer of the show. He was just a writer at the time. And him and Scott, who was doing ADR, came in and watched my audition. They gave me little tips, and they said they brought me back to the producer callback. And then that was, after that, then I went straight to screen test. And it was just me and the final 5, and that's where I first met Aaron and Jason, Vaughn, and everybody. There was like 9 Rangers, so later I found I was the only one they knew for sure they wanted. And then there was 9 other people there, or well, 8 other people other than me, so 9 total to kind of mix and match. So originally, Lucas Kendall was supposed to be like a James Dean kind of look-alike. That's why it was Ken Doll. So they were looking for a Caucasian kind of James Dean, but when they found me, I guess they were like they wanted to go to ethnic route. So it was really cool. And then that was my first job, and that started my whole acting career.
And now he pretends to speak Spanish.
See.
Make it till you make it.
So you mentioned Chip Judd, as he was known on your season. That was his first executive producer, director season, I believe, on In Space.
Yes,
I believe.
yeah, he was one of the writers on the show, and
Long-term writer,
Yeah.
director, has come and gone, but has been
Moved up?
been the main. He has written all of your childhoods, his children's hoods. I'll get there.
wah, wah.
I laughed. That's known as a callback. Anyway, so Judd or Chip, tell me a little bit about him. I asked Jason Font in Buffalo in May, and then that microphone is long gone with the memory card. So,
What exactly do you?
just about him. What's he like as a person? Most people don't talk about him.
Because he's the man behind.
He's the guy who has written everyone's childhood is.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I don't really know him that well. Not as well as Jason Font, who probably know him the best because he's kept in touch with him. But on the show, he's just a really nice, bubbly guy who's like straight to the point too, with a smile. And
I was going to say he's bubbly. He that's how you, because he was. I mean, he was
more tenured.
I didn't see that. Not bubbly.
Well,
He's
not
just
bubbly.
very
Well, he's
mellow, and he just
Matter
did
of
his
fact.
thing, and yeah.
I don't know, around me he's always like, hey, how's it? I mean, I would call that bubbly more so. Scott was more mellow than me.
Scott Page.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Maybe
There's
they
a phone
just
call
act.
that's gonna
Maybe they
happen
act
later.
different around me than you. But
Wow.
I would say
I
Chip
would have
is-
put that the other way. Wow.
Scott, every conversation I've had with Scott is just chill. Talks about the wine, but it's always chill. We have chill talks, and then Chip's really like, hey, yeah.
Was Scott like that with you in the ADR room?
No, I mean that was different because I would say that's like
In the ADR room.
Yeah, in the ADR room we do crazy stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah. Chip, the writer, he was always just very to himself, you know. I think because he wrote all the scripts, he always, to me it felt like he was always, you know, just wheels were always turning. You know, he was always doing something. He felt like he was always maybe thinking. So he just kind of kept to himself. When he directed, he did the job. I think that's why he moved up and stayed. I mean, he has a vision. So.
Does anyone in here know who I'm referring to, Chip Lynn?
No, no one would.
He's the guy whose first name appears in the credits after Haim Saban and Shuki Levy, and anybody else that's...
But on the credits it was Judd, right?
Yeah, it was Joe.
Yours says Judd.
Judd,
More recently it says Chip,
Okay.
which is a nickname.
Yeah.
He's basically the main guy. If you ever see any of the My Morphin Life with Jason David Frank,
Best YouTube channel?
well, I refer Power Rangers in Cyberspace YouTube channel.
I was just saying, because he has a YouTube channel too.
Yeah, he does. What are the words I'm trying to say? You will see him, like when they did the 20th anniversary Legendary Battle and the 25th Dimensions of Danger. You'll see him talking to him. He'll call him, I believe he calls him Chip still, or now. But he's out there. He's always wearing a hat, right? So you're seeing a director in 20 years right here, always wearing a hat. Yes. So here we have a question from my co-host here. What was your favorite moment during filming in the show, the season? It doesn't matter. It could be behind the scenes.
Favorite moment. Well, I'll tell you, wasn't favorite was the call times. We had early morning call times, and I think 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, especially for us girls because we had to get in hair and makeup, so that wasn't fun. But you're asking me for a favorite moment. Favorite moment on the show to me would be when we were able to interact with the fans. We did this meet and greet at SeaWorld in my hometown, San Diego, California. That was a lot of fun. I think just for the mere fact of being at SeaWorld, getting to, enjoy all the perks of being a VIP there and getting behind the scenes. My thing was I've always wanted to go behind and see the pet show because all the pets that they had, oh my gosh. So when I was there to meet and greet, I wanted to see all the pets, like actually to touch them. But being able to interact with all those fans in my hometown, that I think for me, that was my best, my most favorite moment was being able to interact with the fans from where I'm from.
Were you in
Costume? Yes.
So, just helmetless?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have my helmet, but yeah, I was in the actual, that at the time was Turbo when I did that, so, yep, that was mine. I mean, I have a lot of favorite moments, but that one was one that stuck out because that was my hometown and, I was there at SeaWorld, and so, it's not very often that you get to mingle with the people that, that where you're from. Yeah, so it was neat.
I'll say mine was, we filmed Movie Madness in the back lots of Universal Studios, and like me as an 18-year-old kid that didn't know anything about filmmaking and got to see even the Back to the Future set was still there, so that was kind of cool. It was like the last year before they broke it down, so it was kind of cool to take pictures on set. I think I still have some. But all of the stuff that you saw in the Movie Madness episodes was filmed in the backlots, so that was really cool. And they do the tours in Universal Studios, so like when fans that paid to come by and we're like that film crew that's filming and they're like taking pictures of us, I don't know, just it kind of felt really cool just to be in that experience like right away, where we're doing like this big production in the back of Universal. So that was probably my favorite experience.
I mean, I remember watching Movie Madness, even still on Netflix, and it looks like y'all were having a lot of fun behind the scenes and like Rancic dressed up. That was
it was the first time that the guys dressed like girls and the girls dressed like guys, which was funny. If you notice that, Jason and Kevin actually they wore the sexy girl costumes, and I was an old woman costume. Because the funny thing is that I looked more like her when they put me in a costume. I walked out and Chip and everyone was like, "Who's she?" And then they had the makeup on me and everything. They're like, and Chip and everyone was like, Koichi's like, "Oh no, Michael looked too much like a woman. Like we gotta change this." So they literally had to make because I guess I look too much like a girl, so.
There I
It
say,
didn't-
you're very pretty.
It didn't look right. So they were like, "Well, put an old woman costume on him." So that's why they put a bodysuit on me. That's why I was like kind of heavier set, and I was walking like, "Hey, how y'all doing?" So that was fun. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in the episode.
Yeah, it seems like y'all seasons was a lot of fun in Space and Time Force, regarded as two of the best seasons of all time. But I got a personal question for you, for both of you. So Power Rangers is celebrating its 27th anniversary in the year 2020, which who knew it would go that long? Like,
Yeah.
That was right.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody thought it'd last past Mighty Morphin, but it's just lasted so long. So we've had different Rangers return for anniversary episodes, as far as like Forever Red, Dimensions of Danger, and even some return for seasons. What would be your dream scenario or story for your character return to Power Rangers, whether it be an anniversary episode or a whole season?
I would like it to be centered around my character coming from the future and maybe having it being dilapidated, and I had to come back to the modern day time and then even go back further to kind of change something in the past to then hopefully fix the future, although that's not the rules in Avengers. But I don't know, something time travel related and definitely more souped up high-tech gear now that it's with all the CGI. I think 2000 we didn't have a lot of CGI, so a lot of stuff is just really kind of cheesier looking than today's stuff. I mean, to be in some of the cool things that you see in Avengers movies would be kind of cool to have that. Maybe updated costume, things like that too.
Sort of like a battle.
Yeah, like some sort of battle-ized armor.
I think the only thing that I could really think of that really comes to mind is having my season in space crossover with the Super Sentai, do something like that where we can get them together. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it would work, but I've always been very intrigued by the Super Sentai and how they do things. Was it something I said? I'm sorry.
No, they've got a hot date somewhere.
Yeah, I would love that because who's familiar with Super Sentai? Okay, oh good. So you guys know that it's a
Flipper
lot
was a better
more.
villain in space than he was in Mega Ranger. I know that. I'm just bragging.
I mean, for me, I know that it's a lot more gory, a lot more entertaining, a lot more of everything. And I think that, I don't know, somehow getting the two together, that would be amazing. That's what I would think. Or even crossing over, if we were to do like a type of adventure or whatever crossover, I'd love to have, like, don't kill me, but Pokemon series, little guys, with us. I don't know. It just makes me think of...
Like if your Zords were miniature and then they could grow?
No, not necessarily, but I think like Power Rangers and Pokemon characters that go and save, big fleas. I don't know. Who knows? You can do anything, but I don't know. I just kind of the idea of
Just a mashup of two different properties like the Power Rangers and DC Comics crossover?
yes.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
There's a battle.
we're losing our
Earth has to be
White
saved.
Ranger. We're not
Save the Earth!
Okay.
Do it, friend. Do it.
Hey, let me ask you guys, do you guys want to ask, normally we let the audience ask questions, do you guys want to ask questions as well?
All right.
Okay, yeah, because normally we do that, it kind of gets the crowd involved. Yeah, let's pass it on some questions.
Let's hear from the crowd.
Michael Copon, now he's a director.
Yeah, I am a director.
We're just losing people,
I like to
so we don't want to lose anymore.
Well, I like to get the audience, they're here to find out stuff about us, I want to see what they want to ask.
Who put their hand up? I saw this gentleman's hand first, and then we'll come up to you, and then we'll come back to my man who's joined us at our table today. While I make my way over here, I'm going to come to your left. The furniture provided today by Kimball's Simply Me. There's the banner. Take a look at it. Go buy your furniture. What's your name, young man?
Toby Simmons.
Toby. Who's your question for?
The Yellow Ranger for In Space.
Yes, sir.
What do you think in a crossover between In Space and SPD? How would you go about doing it? The way I see it, I can see the In Space Rangers coming in with the mega ship, meeting SPD somewhere along the lines via, I don't know, a time warp, or they got lost in space and they decided to come back to Earth like many years in the future and fight off Grud's forces or something like that.
Okay, I missed the question.
What do you think between an SPD? How would you handle an SPD and Power Ranger in space crossover? Toby thinks that if there was a time warp involved, somehow there would the mega ship would make its way to SPD. How do you have an idea of how you would handle that, or any idea of how a crossover would happen?
I don't know. That's why I don't write, because I'm not a writer. It'd be cool. The idea of it is cool. You know, the fans are always excited when you get the different series together and you mash them up. I like that idea is cool.
Let me throw an idea out there. Maybe it'll make more sense.
Yeah.
A chronomorpher becomes involved somehow.
Yeah.
And then that would make the time hole plausible.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Wormhole, yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you for your question.
Who did I point to next? This gentleman up here, right?
The transforming part of the Astro Mega ship, and when we're talking about crossovers, how about with Macross, known in the US as Robotech? Yeah, in Power Rangers in Space, the Astro Mega ship can turn into a giant robot. And in Macross, known as Robotech in the US, the main battleship can turn into a humanoid robot as well.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I know.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and he had a question right there.
This guy's been on our table all morning. I like it. I expect to see all of you at our table at some point.
Yeah.
All right, this is for my guy Michael.
Yeah.
Back in Time Force, did Lucas have a thing for Nadira? That's what I'm still stuck on.
Didn't everybody?
No, remember I was trying to get her off of me. That was the whole point. She liked me, and she thought I liked her, and then just not into pink hairs.
I mean, in Wild Force, y'all did look pretty friendly, though.
This is for both of you. For both of you right now. Because Power Rangers has been such an influence on a lot of us throughout the years and all the iterations, what was one of your childhood heroes while you were growing up, or influencers that, and have through their iterations now, are they kind of still influence you in your careers or in your passions, like your shows are with us?
That's a good question.
I would say.
I can take it.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I'll go first
I
because
can
I've got
have
somebody
one.
that I've always looked up to as far as a character or a show, if you will. Growing up, I always looked up to Punky Brewster. That was something that I always longed to be or to admire. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Punky Brewster. Soleil Moonfry, who played Punky, she was my hero. Just the fact of her being the, the person that she is, that always looking things on the bright side, even though she's this foster kid and, she just made do with what she had. And that helped, I guess, me. I'm an only child. So that helped me kind of learn how to be my own best friend. And as far as today, I mean, Punky Brewster, of course, grew up like I did, but she doesn't still influence me. But in my younger years of growing up, I would watch her show, or I would watch that show to be able to replicate that same type of personality. But as far as now, I don't really follow, I guess, anyone's career or show or anything like that, but that was my childhood. That one?
Yeah, I'll be honest, we didn't even have my family didn't even have it, I can't even say it. We didn't even have a TV until, I was probably around like 9, and then my babysitter also didn't have one, so I didn't grow up really watching a lot of TV. I was an artist, so I would draw. I drew a lot of stuff. I mean, I drew all the X-Men, and so I guess who I looked up to were Marvel characters that I drew, like Wolverine and things like that. But I mean, I never really watched them. I would just kind of like read comics or collect baseball cards, basketball. I would watch the football games, so I was a big fan of like Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley and a bunch of athletes. Emmitt Smith, I was a Cowboy fan growing up. So it was more on the athlete side, and then my art side was like the secret world that no one knew about. So I would draw these different Marvel characters and Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that when I was a kid. So I didn't really have any shows I watched when I was a kid other than like anime like Voltron and Thundercats, things like that. So I guess the first person that really inspired me as an artist was Michael Jackson. That's why if you see me dance and sing, I watch them and then I go, wow, I want to be like that. And even though that didn't become like what I did, I did end up singing. I went on tour with Bruno Mars, and I won that show about Can They Sing on VH1, which was a celebrity singing show, and like Dancing with the Stars. I've done a little bit of music in my life, and I do sing for fun, but acting kind of just took off first.
Would you do the Masked Singer?
Huh?
Would you do the Masked Singer? The Masked Singer?
Oh, the Masked Singer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Would you do that?
Yeah.
You know what it is, right?
No, yeah, Joey Fatone did it. Yeah, Joey showed me that, actually. I knew Joey was the rabbit prior to him, because he was showing me video, he goes, oh, I'm gonna be this rabbit thing on TV, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I would do it, that would be fun.
You guys watch that, the Masked Singer?
Character be Donut?
Yeah, maybe I'd be Dr. Donut, the singer. That's what I go by now, Dr. Donut.
That'd be awesome.
So I don't really look up to anyone other than my family. My mom really inspired me and things like that. So I really grew up watching a lot of TV people. So yeah, so I really could answer it. I mean, Full House was really inspiring to me. I don't know if you guys watched that, but it did teach me a lot of morals when I started watching that. But I guess now I watch actors like Daniel Day-Lewis, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's passed away, James Gandolfini also passed away, Heath Ledger, who's passed away. A lot of the people I really enjoy watching as actors are passed away. Joaquin Phoenix is still, I'm a big fan of him. Johnny Depp is great as well. I love different actors. De Niro's been inspiring, Denzel, DiCaprio. So I am very inspired as an actor by watching these guys. And now a director like Affleck, and I love Braveheart, so I loved how Mel Gibson wrote, and produced that, and that's what pushed me to open up my movie studio, which now I've produced 7 and I've directed 3 movies, which are all on Amazon. You know, so as an artist, yeah, I'm inspired by actors who write, direct, produce, do the whole thing. So yeah, so I would say more so now, not so growing up.
I think you should wear the Homer Simpson's head as a donut from that Treehouse of Horror. You can do that. There you go. We have another question here.
Hi, my question is for Michael. So I guess my question is like, what is your favorite genre of working with? Because I know you did like Power Rangers, but you also did One Tree Hill and Bring It On, so that's more like drama chick flick. So I'm just like wondering which one you enjoyed more versus like the environment and who you worked with.
Yeah, that's a great question. My favorite genre was, I really enjoyed doing like the Scorpion King, where it was like, kind of like old time, set back in old time situations, so where, you know, they build all these really unique sets and you're kind of learning about history, but being able to see history in real life. Like they built like the market square with the, you know, the fish, the bed that I was sleeping on was like, just like this cot that, you know, there wasn't like modern day beds and stuff. So it was just like seeing how history was and being able to live in that moment. As an actor, it feels really cool for my imagination to kind of really live in that environment. So that was really cool for me. But in terms of the other stuff, like the Power Rangers, that type of set was also really cool, was the futuristic stuff. So I would say anything either old school, like old history, like if I were to be in a movie like Braveheart again, or something futuristic like how Avengers is so tech savvy and futuristic in some regard. And I think that's what Time Force tried to accomplish back in that time. So something in that regard would be great as well, doing like a futuristic stuff or past. Not so much. I mean, the modern day stuff is cool too, but as an actor, it's just so cool to be in a situation, in a set where your imagination's just running wild, you know. And then you also work with actors sometimes you work with actors who are older and more experienced than you.
I have one little question for each of you. So, to the beautiful Yellow Ranger, you were like such an inspiration when I was a kid. And you were talking about earlier how you did dance. So my question for you is like, do you ever regret giving up dance?
No, because I never technically gave it up. Dance has always been in me, and music is in me, even though I can't carry a tune, but I could think I can. But dance has always been a part of me. So I have helped out by volunteering, teaching dance, also helping out in my local high school, that in their cheer, I would help them out coming up with the choreography or something like that. I have 4 kids, 3 of them are boys, and all 3 are, well, I have one that just graduated, so I have a 19-year-old, 17-year-old, and a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And so having them in school, I did a lot of volunteer work, being a part of that. And so volunteering, because dance is, that's just my joy, my passion, I would help out in that area. So it never really strayed far away. It was always there. And then having people, I'd have kids even come over for my daughter, and working on dance. I mean, I think it passed over even with my daughter. So yeah, thank you for your question though. Dance has always been I don't think, it's a part of you, it just doesn't leave like, okay, well, but yeah, I always thought that I would be in dance. In fact, I remember auditioning for The Lion King at Disneyland. I remember right out of high school, I went to Disneyland to audition for that. Now, obviously I didn't get it, but you still keep going. But thank you so much.
And then for you, you were talking about earlier how you like art and music and stuff, which I think is so cool because those are some of my interests too. But my thing is, you opened a donut shop, which I just want to know why. I think that's so cool.
Thank you.
She's a plant. I think she was a plant to ask that question.
No, I've never met her. So I guess, okay, for me, I'm gonna tell you the real reason why. I've always wanted a cafe growing up. I wanted to open up a cafe, kind of like in the show Friends, where like, that show my mom and I would watch and be like, we should open up a cafe one day and have it be like a really positive central place for people to come, where an alternative, people didn't want to go to the clubs or do this, or just something where people could come every day. And I just like that interaction. I used to watch Cheers as well sometimes as I got my teenager years with my mom. And I guess some of my best memories were watching Friends and Cheers with my mom. So like owning a cafe would be like ideal for me after I kind of, made it. And I love cooking and I love food. So I knew I couldn't compete with Starbucks, so I knew I had to do something different. And I just looked around, and there is a high profit margin in donuts and ice cream and stuff like that. And it's just the way it's processed that, there is an art to baking and things like that too. It's kind of hard to answer it, but it's kind of like there's all these things that kind of led me down to say, I'm going to do a donut company. And that's what I did. And it was the real cool thing about it is if you come look at my logo and everything, I drew the logo. His name is Gooey, the donut. It's kind of like my Mickey Mouse if I'm Walt Disney. I actually drew him. I took every photo of every donut you see in my ads. And he's been in my store. My niece and my nephew, I took the photos. Well, my sister took the photos, but I taught art photography as well. So my family's like this artistic family. So they took the photos of my niece and nephew with the donuts. And if you walk in, we just designed it our own selves, and it looks. I try to make it look as much like it's already a franchise, and it's fun. I'm so passionate about it. I got passionate in cooking about 6-7 years ago, and then I just wanted to stay in a niche, sector. So I stayed in the sweet sector, and now it's been becoming a thing. Now people around call me the Dr. Donut, and it's become this thing. It's like a kind of a funny thing now, and. Who knows? Maybe this becomes the next Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, Dunkin's taking donuts out of their name because it's less than 30% of their sales, and they didn't innovate the donut world where I'm made to order. So you come in, we're the Subway of donuts. Like, we make everything your way, how you want it. And the kids, we built this stool so the kids, the kids sit up on the pad and they watch us make the donuts. So they're watching us put in the icing, and they get to say exactly what they want. They want this icing with that topping, and I get 90% of families and kids coming in, and it just makes you smile all day long. And it's just been such a moving experience for me, and I'm so blessed to have it being so successful so fast. I've already opened my second location, and now moving forward from that, and I'm building a food truck now that I can take it around the Comic-Cons, and then also do a Comic-Con thing with my donut truck, and me signing autographs beside it. So I don't know, it's like the new thing that I guess I'm on, as well as producing movies. So why donuts? It's just because I've never seen an unhappy person eat a donut.
And if you go there, make sure you get the Blue Ranger donut.
Yeah, so I did one Blue Ranger donut. I have them at the table, but it's become a thing now. Literally, I had one mom came in and got 20 Blue Ranger donuts, and really it's just the vanilla icing with blue sprinkles, but it just became a thing, and who knows, maybe this is the thing that really takes me to a whole new level, and I've been videotaping. I already sold like 5-6 donuts since we got here, and it's just been cool. I'm videotaping because I'm just so excited because I created this too. It's like
making me hungry.
So thank you for the question. I really appreciate it.
The blue sprinkles, maybe they are in the shape of the arrow on the visor?
Well, they're all holy blue sprinkles. I pray my Blue Rangerness over them.
Oh, okay.
So they come from the future, so
it's like the Mike TV.
Yeah, they're really they got powers if you eat them. So
don't say that too loud. I thought we were never supposed to use it for personal gain. We got another question here.
So, what series did you guys enjoy best? You being in Turbo and Lost in Space, and then what series overall did you guys like? Man, I want to be a part of that, or I wish I could be a part of that.
For me, I'm more biased towards In Space. If I had to pick between Turbo and In Space, obviously Turbo, I had to share that season with the crew, the cast that was before us, which was a little hard, knowing that we were taking somebody else's place right in the middle of the season. That was really difficult. But In Space, they really upped the ante a lot with the storyline, with the relationship development, with the pyrotechnics. It just really upped the ante with the show. As far as what I would like to have worked on in the history of the seasons of Power Rangers, I'd like to see like a Forever Yellow. That's what I would like. They haven't done it, so I'd like to see a Forever Yellow where they get the Yellow Rangers together. I mean, they did that with Red, and they did it with Pink, and so I'd like to see something like that. I think that Yellow, the women that they've chosen are strong. They're, I think that it's kind of that movement of feminism and showing strength, and the girl, they always would make like strong, but in a more feminine type of way. So, I don't know, I'd kind of like to see something like that done.
Would that Forever Yellow include the, was it Mystic Force Yellow? Was that the male yellow one, Kristen?
Sure, we're not discriminating against it. Even Paul Schreier could be on
that would be perfect.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'll just answer quick. Mine would honestly be Mighty Morphin. I just only because it's the original. I'm the type of guy, if I were to ever do a series, I'd love to be in the original of not just Power Rangers, any kind of franchise that's got, its thing. It'd be cool to be in the original one as well, or to work with the original cast of anything really. I mean, we're gonna say that about Avengers one day when it's like 20 years from now. We're gonna be like, man, it'd be cool to have been in the first Avengers movie with Robert Downey Jr. You know what I mean? So, it's just that kind of thing where originals like what set it off. And I mean, I went to the theater to watch Steve Cardenas and all them in the movies, and then now I became a Ranger, so it's kind of cool to be a part of it.
If you think about it, you were in the first season of Power Rangers Time Force. We have this question, and then we'll have one more as we are winding down our panel.
Can't get it out, huh?
Yeah. I'm nervous. I have a question for Tracy.
Yes. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. What can I do for you?
In Power Rangers Space, what is your favorite episode?
Favorite episode in Power Rangers in Space? That would have to be Invasions of the Body Switcher, where Ashley becomes evil and Astronema becomes good. So we switch places. We're so used to seeing the bubblegum Power Ranger, do-gooder. So it was nice to switch it up and become evil. I would do that in a heartbeat. I think that's why I want the Super Sentai. Just long for that. When I was doing that, the director said, yes, okay. Let's reel it back a little bit, because I just really punched right through that and wanted to be evil and enjoyed it for what it was worth. But that was my most favorite episode. Thank you for asking.
We have this question, and then we have one more real quick, and then I think we're gonna wind down at that point.
Hey. So I want to ask a really personal question. How did you get into the film industry, and do you have any tips for anybody else that wants to get into the film industry?
It's changed. I'll tell you, the old me would have said, move to LA right away, get an agent, jump into the hustle and bustle of the industry. But nowadays, you could be in Colorado Springs, have a nice video camera setup, and do funny videos and gain an audience online, on whether it be YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or any of these things, and then you could use that as leverage now to get signed by an agency. Like, let's take for instance Abrams Artist Agency, right? Which they used to be, I would say, like maybe 21st or 22nd on the list compared to like CAA, who's #1, because like CAA has like the Tom Cruises and they have like all the A-list celebrity actors. But now Abrams is #4, and not because of their actors. It's because of their influencers. They have the #1 influencers in the business are mostly signed with Abrams. And then those influencers are now getting parts in movies. Some of these influencers are getting $200,000 for a post versus an actress has to do 14 episodes of a primetime series to make that $200,000. So the industry has changed. So my advice to you is to just do it. Get off your butt and do it. Like when I wanted to do my donut shop, I just did it. When I wanted to, invest in real estate, I just did it. Everything. When I went to LA, I turned down my full ride scholarship and just did it. But if I was 18 now, I'd be doing it differently. I would have then just started my own channel. I would have been every single day. I would have had the energy that 18-year-old energy that was out there hustling, bustling. I might have got Power Rangers on my first audition, but I had 1,482 auditions I kept track of that I heard the word no for 5 years, couch to couch surfing until I got on One Tree Hill. And then after that, I was making $40,000 a week and as an actor, and I was pretty successful, right? But it took 5 years and over 1,000 no's. So that same energy would have been in the Instagram world, and I probably had 4 or 5 million followers. You know, you have to put.
Just by one post.
Yeah, you could go viral by one post, but even then you have to monetize it and still have to. You have to stay active on it every single day. Now that's not in my passion to do today. That's why you don't see me as much doing it. But I know people that do it and they do really well. So my advice to you guys is just come up with content every single day and just constantly just do it. You know, and the only person you can blame now is yourself. I mean, if you're not an entrepreneur and not successful in today's society, you're just lazy. Because there's too much information out there for free to figure out on your own. If you don't go take advantage of it now until it costs money to review things on Google, there'll be, mark my words, in probably 10 years, it'll probably cost $10 to even look up information on Google.
Stop.
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna stop you right now.
No, I'm just trying to say, right now, take advantage of everything's free, take advantage of it before it costs something, So, just go out there and do it, and then you can go to LA, New York, or Atlanta, and some of these other cities that are filming a lot of productions. I'm filming my next movie I'm producing in Atlanta. It's like, you don't have to be in LA anymore. Just go to the major cities where you see them filming. You can figure it out on Instagram, and you just look up the hashtags, and then, like I said, put content.
Great answer.
Thank you.
Anything to add, Tracy?
No, I mean, where'd you go? Where's the man behind the voice? There we go.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Where's Waldo?
he did really well answering. That was a great answer to a great question.
Perfect. We have our last question, and then we're going to let Michael and Tracy go for the next panel. Remember to visit them at their table.
Please come by. We both love to chit chat and talk and hang out, and yeah, come by.
Here you go, young man.
How you doing?
I have a question, and it's for Michael.
Yeah.
What's your favorite all-time Power Rangers Time Force episode?
Yeah, I answered it before, but I'll say it again. The movie Madness. That was my. You know what? That was my favorite, but I already said before, my second favorite was when I worked with that little girl in Bodyguard in Blue. So it was my first time working with a child actress, and I had to protect her. And in the episode, I had to be this mean guy, and just offset, I wasn't that guy. So it was just really, really funny working with this sweet girl. She's like, "We gotta find my daddy," and I'm like, "Oh, get out of here!" It was just funny. It was kind of reminds me of the Rock movie where he finds the daughter and he plays the football player.
Tooth Fairy?
No, not Tooth Fairy. It's Game Plan. Yeah, it's kind of like that for me. It was really fun, and if you watch the episode and that scene where I'm yelling at her while I'm driving, I have a hoarse voice because I actually had 104-degree temperature. I was sick, and they still made me come to work. I'm like, I can't talk. They're like, I don't care, drink some tea. We gotta shoot this. I remember, so I'm sick in that whole episode. I almost had 104-degree. They took my temperature at 104-degree temperature.
I thought you said 140.
104.
And I thought you were.
I think I would have been dead if 104.
I don't think you can get past 106 and talk about.
No, I literally was getting blisters in my throat. I was so sick, and they were like, still acting. I'm like. And I forget the AD at the time, but he was literally like, he stepped in and was like, Mike's sick. He's being tough right now, but we took his temperature. He's sick. He needs to go home after we shoot this, because I literally was exhausted.
Do I dare remind you that you're working for Copon?
Yeah, I know, right? Copon will be like, yeah.
Yeah, next.
Speaking of going home, it's time for us to close this panel.
All right.
Tracy, Lynn, Cruz, Michael Copon.
Thank you so much.
Go to the table. Michael has a couple donuts, limited supply. It's always the last one. Come see us. We have a table in the corner. We're Tracy and Michael, and then it's Arn Anderson, Sergeant Slaughter, and then it's Christian and I. We will be doing a live recording later today and throughout the weekend. Sorry, Michael. And come visit us. You never know who's going to be at the table. You never know who's going to be recording. You never know who's going to be on the podcast. It might be you.